My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, and this is documentation establishing and proving and recording what is the evidence of the state of California, as I am subject to targeting from the moment that I wake up until the moment to wherever it is that I retire, and including while I am sleeping. This is, in other words, ceaseless surveillance. That is, the pattern of conduct is subject to what is the documentation as I am capturing it and also publishing it online, and that is both to prosecute and it's also to protect oneself with regard to the entity that is engaged in what is the intent to kidnap. This is kidnapping that would be committed by a government that is necessarily going to manufacture some basis whereby they are putting you through the system, some manufactured criminal charge, some assertion, and I've documented the entity engaging in that pattern of conduct, stating that I'm harassing someone, and it never happens, stating that I'm molesting a child, and it never happens, stating that I am mentally ill in need of a health check, and that is not the case, while I am also documenting the entity that is absolutely mentally deranged and is obsessively stalking me as a whole population, engaging in an unprecedented criminal act, which is terrorism in the United States, domestic terrorism. And this is all the efforts that a corrupt government engaging in this system of gang stalking, which is domestic terrorism in the United States, seeking to obstruct justice and conceal itself from being exposed, and that has long been forfeited. However, I do remain subject to the pattern of conduct, and it is legally relevant with regard to collateral harms that I have suffered. And by collateral harms, I mean it's relevant to what the entity is doing the entire time that I'm subject to this pattern of conduct, both before I begin documenting, meaning before I'm aware of it, and also as I begin documentation in October 2017, and then on an ongoing systematic basis in 2018. This is relevant to what the federal government, again, a corrupt official that has been referenced very heavily as of late, and that is based on the criminal conduct that the federal government remains responsible for. The criminal conduct that the federal government is acting in concert with the city of Ontario, the state of California, with, as I remain subject to that. So this is, I want to be clear, the pattern of conduct, the people of the state, the city of Ontario, and as I travel to the city of Fontana today, this is criminal activity that the federal government is engaged in and is responsible for. It is the United States government's pattern of conduct that is proven through the scientific evidence of the environment that surrounds one when you are subject to the surveillance. That's speaking to the United States government. It's across state lines. It is also the United States government's pattern of conduct because the federal government itself is engaged in targeting me. That's included in the fact pattern. Jason Isaac Fields, a corrupt official acting in concert with Tracy Banks. She is classified as the people of the state in the prosecution of the government, and she's engaged in what is conspiring my death, doing so in concert with the people of the state, with the city of Ontario, the state of California, including the state people that she has not ever met, understand that they are abiding by the same pattern of conduct pursuant to a statewide system. And the entity that is conspiring or soliciting to commit murder is an entity that is doing so, acting through a specific person that commits that crime, solicitation for murder. But that solicitation for murder is committed by the government that is acting in concert with the people of the state. And that's just an example relevant to the umbrella of offenses pursuant to gang stalking, pursuant to federal group stalking and monitoring, as I have termed it. And as I am traveling today from the city of Ontario to the city of Fontana, this is a big picture analysis relevant to Jason Isaac Fields that has engaged in targeting me, stealing my money and stealing my property, enjoying the fruits of what is property that belongs to me, wealth that belongs to me. And this is shared by, again, Tracy Banks, again, never telling me about my property and engaged in targeting me with the government. I've been subject to targeting, by the way, since I was a child, and as I become an adult and I'm subject to systematic harassment in the workplace, particularly as I accomplish a level of personal and professional success. That is after I graduate law school and I take the California bar and I begin seeking employment in the legal field. This is when the harassment particularly became violent. Okay, you're talking about corporate bullying, if you will. Those are the demons. That's the Nephilim targeting me in the workplace. Very, very envious of what it is that I had accomplished as an attorney, as a licensed attorney. And this is illustrated even by the envy of Tracy Banks. Okay, this is a jealous person this is a spirit though. So just letting you know, this is an entity that is monitoring me, obsessively stalking, is envious of who I am, my identity, envious of property that belongs to me that it kept concealed from me, and also envious of what it is that I've accomplished individually in spite of what the government has been doing in my life, my entire life. So what I'm documenting today, I'm documenting the entity stalking, and it's proven through the fake sun that's rising on Euclid Avenue and then remaining over me as I am not going to the Ontario Police Department, where the sun never should have been, if that was the natural environment, which you know it is not, but if that was the natural environment remaining on Euclid Avenue at the Ontario Town Square, let's just use where I'm remaining as of late, and the entity keeps the fake sun there, it's still there as I exit the Ovid Family Community Library in the evening, and that's at 6 p.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun and rising it and setting it on Euclid Avenue. I go to the Ontario Police Department yesterday, which is September 30th, 2025, And the entity is engaged in a grand departure from that. Today, I go to Fontana, California, and I take Route 61 OMNITRANS, which is a state actor engaged in the pattern of conduct. It's engaged in surveillance. And the evidence of that is the supernatural, that is the environment that literally follows me to the city of Fontana. And because there's only one sun, because the natural environment dictates that the sun is not an ubiquitous object that's remaining over everyone, everywhere, no matter what direction, no matter how long you are remaining in one place, we are all observing it in the same manner that I'm observing it and documenting it, moving in real time. That is not our shared experience. That is impossible, and that is not characteristic of the sun, which is a star, a gaseous ball of fire that does not hang low adjacent to the buildings that we are inside of, nor does it sit over one building, nor does it sit over one city, nor does it sit over one person for the duration of the day. Okay, this is where the Nephilim are clearly identified. And in the same way that the entity of demons and the government is targeting me, that fake sun is showing who the target of a federal prosecution is that is engaged in domestic terrorism. And it is exposing public corruption and who are the demon possessed, the entity that's surrounding that is stalking. Okay, keeping me under surveillance. And that is, as I'm documenting today, from the city of Ontario to the city of Fontana. And then as you get into the minutia of it, it is very pathetic the ways in which you are witnessing the demon possessed engage in stalking me together. Okay, so this is relevant to criminal activity that the entity has committed in courts concerning property that was never disclosed to me, and the defamation that I have been subject to. And upon the fact of federal group stalking and monitoring, as I have handled the case in chief, and the federal government never having any legitimate investigation of myself, never having any authority under the law to conduct an investigation. It is in fact the entity that's targeting me, claiming to be and conducting an investigation, while, by the way, I am simultaneously documenting how I'm being targeted. The federal government was never investigating anything, and the federal government is engaged in what is obstruction of justice. As those that are a part of the federal government, including Jason Isaac Fields, have engaged in theft of my money and living in real property that belongs to me, and theft of my intellectual property and profiting from it, and enabling people like Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and demons that have no business having any knowledge or having any sort of interest in my money and property. They shouldn't even know about it. I didn't even know about it. But not only do they know about it, they're targeting me because of it, and they're also targeting with interest in stealing it and getting away with that which has already been stolen. That's relevant to the gang stalking, as I am subject to the pattern of conduct from city to city. That's relevant to the pattern of conduct as I remain subject to it from state to state. Remember, I'm documenting the pattern of conduct in Las Vegas, Nevada in 2024. That remains relevant to date in October of 2025. So the entity is engaging in this P.O.C, and this is the pattern of conduct that I remain subject to, where there has not been any sort of pause or relief from ongoing suffering, targeting. I was kidnapped days ago by the entity. The federal government is not conducting an investigation. The Ontario Police acts with the same level of impunity. That is with knowledge that the federal government is relying on the gang stalking that I'm subject to, because the entity intended to falsely depict my character, that is, claim that an American citizen, even in the face of my documentation, is supposedly mentally ill, while the entity is the one that is the mentally ill and corrupt body of government that is keeping you under surveillance as demons that are stalking with light and audible activity and doing so in this specific environment. But the entity seeks to criminally defame you while you are subject to that pattern of conduct. And that is, again, based on the false premises of, first of all, prosecuting stalking by government, which also the entity is engaging in under the assumption that you have no evidence to prove it, and that evidence is going to be disregarded, and that the government is going to outweigh the allegations of an American citizen, and all of those are false premises. Okay. This is going to what is inevitable federal prison for corrupt officials like Jason Fields, the disbanding of a corrupt agency like the Ontario Police, who are pivotal in defaming my character. Tracy Banks and Jason Fields relying on the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court to create what is a paper trail of manufactured information, alternative facts, if you will, made up, okay, in order to establish mental illness, in order to establish criminal activity on my part, a criminal record on my part, and any basis whatsoever to target me, which is what the federal government would call an investigation. Okay, and it's not an investigation. It is evidence of targeting by that entity, and the entity is engaging in this again under the corrupt conduct of Jason Fields, who was being documented, who was subject to federal prison for all the harms precipitating from what he has conducted against me for the purpose of stealing from me, and is necessarily needing to support and provide information in a quote-unquote investigation of myself where there is no lawful basis to investigate me. The entity is engaged in what is targeting with knowledge of money and property that belongs to me, and so I'm subject to gang stalking, while the entity sought to criminally defame me in order to, under the law that it has no jurisdiction under based on criminal surveillance, to then falsely depict my character and then support stealing my money and property. Oh, see, the targeted individual is mentally ill. She's going around accusing people of stalking her. She's a paranoid schizophrenic. She's bipolar. She's hallucinating. She's a drug addict. She's a prostitute. She's putting herself on OnlyFans. She's a child molester. She's a pedophile. She's a criminal. She's engaged in what is stealing money, taking out loans, and defrauding other people. She's engaged in murder. I've based on the entity that's gang stalking me, I'm a murderer. This is everything that the entity has committed, and this is everything that the entity has alleged against me. And this is relevant to the gang stalking that I remain subject to date. And this is the pattern of conduct that is relevant to the entity that had no basis under the law whatsoever pertaining to property that belongs to me, money and property. The entity went into court and lied about my identity. You have the entity that is stealing my identity, walking into courtrooms and claiming to be me, Erica Lorenz Spencer. Secondly, you have the entity that is lying about my whereabouts, while the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is kidnapping me pursuant to targeting me, which the case in chief that I am handling, my public investigation proves. The entity is at the same time claiming not that I am unlawfully detained, but that number one, I'm missing. I'm a drug addict. Nobody knows where I'm at. I'm a prostitute. And also that I am subject to what is a lawful confinement based on criminal activity and mental instability, that I'm subject to confinement in a ward because the entity having jurisdiction and because of mental illness that I suffer from. This is the entity that has been confining me in order to provide me treatment, which is then supporting the entity that has stolen my money and property under a fake and criminally fraudulently procured conservatorship that no one ever told me about. This is in order that they can steal my money and property. This is what Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, is relying on, and stealing my money and property and paying gang stalkers to keep me under surveillance, by the way. This is what is motivating the Ontario Police Department. This is the entity that's engaged in other words, establishing, manufacturing a basis to steal my money and property where they are abusing the law, and doing so, abusing the law that they have no actual jurisdiction under, based on what is the case that I have proven that the United States government is engaged in criminal surveillance. And I am subject to targeting pursuant to that, based on property and money that belongs to me, that the government sought to literally kidnap me and defame me, my character, so that number one, you would not listen, and this is discarding an American citizen that would assert that the government is targeting them in any way or another, and is also serving the dual purpose of stealing my money and property by claiming that I'm mentally ill and I'm incapable of handling my own money and property. This is relevant to what is federal prison, again, for Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. Okay, this is relevant to the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. They are key in defaming my character and stealing my liberty. That is keeping me subject to kidnapping while they were monitoring the entire time, engaging in torture in the facilitating venues of Shannon Dykes, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who are demons engaging in the pattern of conduct. And it is relevant to the ongoing targeting that I remain subject to date. It is October of 2025. And there is no lawful basis for the undue delay of the government that has yet to give what is clearly mine, money and property, and what is also due to me under the law and the facts, as it shows the government is inevitably surrounded by evidence, both by my public investigation, chiefly by my public investigation, because the government is poised to conceal and also lie about what it is that is generated in an alleged investigation of myself if I did not have the P.O.C. to expose the federal government, to expose Jason Isaac Fields, to expose the city of Ontario, if you will, the state of California, the Ontario Police Department, the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. But for my investigation and my evidence, the federal government is very much in a position poised to steal my money and property by asserting that I am everything that they sought to establish me as, and doing so targeting with Tracy Banks as the entity seeks to kidnap and commit murder by targeting. Okay, so literally, but for the P.O.C., the federal government is not engaging in any sort of investigation or has any intention to provide justice. I want to make sure that that's clear. And the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct and has been for years and has been engaged in ongoing targeting. And this is relevant to what the city of Fontana is committing. So I'm going to go through many means of identification of the entity. And it is also captured in images and video uploaded to the Google Drive, which is published for the public to see. The entity that's engaged in gang stalking and furtherance of murder and kidnapping is diligently obsessing, still monitoring, targeting, harassing, terrorizing, sexually violating, while keeping the evidence against itself under surveillance, engaging in obstruction of justice. This is what Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, remains interested in as well. Jason Isaac Fields is not any sort of state actor with clean hands. He has absolutely unclean hands, and he's engaged in targeting with Tracy Banks, his long-term sex partner, who is again conspiring my murder with Jason Fields, who has been in court lying on my character and accusing me of that which he is guilty of. All right, defaming my character is necessary in order for Jason Isaac Fields to get away with stealing my money and living in my house, my property, to permit Tracy Banks to get away with stealing my money and property, to permit the people of the state to perjure themselves in court with knowledge of the false statements that they're giving with the intent to get money that belongs to me. They're being paid, they're incentivized, they're motivated to lie and defame my character while they are engaged in that method of gang stalking. Understand, gang stalking is a term of art. Okay, it is relevant to the government that is targeting, in other words. So you are targeting in a court hearing, which is a criminal act, where you are defaming the character of the targeted individual, and they're also doing it because they want my money and my property. All right, and so I just want to be clear, Jason Isaac Fields and the entity that is targeting are doing so in concert, and the entity is engaged in what is an undue delay in justice, and there is no circumstance under the law that is going to permit what is avoiding federal prison based on the ongoing documented harms that I suffer. Okay, this is sleeping outside while the entity is sleeping in a house property that belongs to me. Any businesses, any wills, trust funds, any intellectual property that was stolen and profited from, which venues like YouTube are permitting online. YouTube is engaged in surveillance, so YouTube is intentionally and knowingly engaging in that and obstructing justice while I remain subject to the threat of harm by gang stalkers like the Ontario Police, who are systematically kidnapping as I conduct my public investigation of them targeting me, including by kidnapping me. This is relevant to the harms inherent to stealing from me, inherent to targeting me, both in relevant position, gang stalking, and also on the venue of the internet and targeting by monitoring my communication devices. This is relevant to what is inevitable federal prison for corrupt officials like Jason Isaac Fields, who under federal law and under laws that shall be enforced against any terrorist like Jason Isaac Fields, that are never to be permitted in the presence of the targeted individual, which no gang stalking terrorist like Jason Fields is going to unilaterally violate violate an American citizen and just be in their presence when you have formally engaged in targeting them, conspiring their murder, sexually violating them, sex trafficking them, stealing from them. You are literally the reason why I remain subject to this pattern of conduct, doing so in concert with the government. I want to make sure that this is clear and that it is appreciated, because this is not only enforcing my rights, it is establishing precedent on behalf of American citizens who are already 6 feet under, by the way. They're already dead, and this is the system that they were subject to. Jason Isaac Fields, in other words, successfully targeting them, successfully kidnapping them, successfully stealing from them by depicting them as being mentally ill in one way or another, and then getting away with stealing their wealth, stealing their property, living in their homes, stealing their businesses, stealing their creations, and sharing it with the demon-possessed that are sharing in that pattern of conduct with him, with that federal government, with that entity. Okay, so this is, again, both enforcement, a prosecution, conducting an investigation, which is forcing the government, and it's also going to hold the government to account, because there is no explanation under the law. There is no sufficient basis for what is the undue delay. The entity has been engaged in years of obstruction of justice. Okay, and doing so where you are providing a way for the entity that is given discretion with regard to when they are going to hand over property that doesn't belong to them. When my life is under threat 24 hours a day, that is the entity that is going to federal prison. The entity that's engaging in that, this is the entity that is, again, the lack of appreciation for the ongoing threat that an American citizen remains subject to, is speaking to what is federal prison. It is not going to be different, because I am the exception, meaning I survived it and I proved it and I am prosecuting thereby it. You are going to federal prison based on what the law is going to provide with regard to recovery for any American citizen. And where an American citizen's life is under threat, you are not just going to tell the thieves, the gang stalkers, those that are engaged in the government itself, okay, well, you have 60 days to provide the evidence, or to provide the property, to deliver the property back over to the targeted individual, whereas it's an ongoing emergency for so long as that system remains underway. And I am still documenting the ceaseless pattern of conduct. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the police are targeting me with helicopters flying over me as though they are planning to start shooting and dropping bombs over me, dropping bombs on me. That's an unlawful threat. It is psychologically harmful, and it is an ongoing unlawful threat that the government poses while you're providing a level of discretion for that entity that knows exactly where I am, knows exactly what the circumstances that I am subject to, and are intentionally delaying and providing what belongs to me under all circumstances. And Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison amongst many others. This is the entity that's engaged in an undue delay based on what is, again, a desire to inflict as much harm as possible until they are absolutely forced to do so. And based on that, that is relevant to civil recovery, that is relevant to a criminal prosecution, that's relevant to time in federal prison. In the same way that the entity is inflicting harm. Because as of today, I should not be sleeping outside. I should have already had my money and property. And any court that is granting discretion regarding this government that is still simultaneously targeting me, which is why I'm still maintaining my public investigation, that is going to meet at the intersection of a federal prosecution, resulting in time in federal prison. It is directly commensurate to the harm suffered by that American citizen. Psychological torture is ceaselessly underway. Sexual violence at an inhumane level is ceaselessly underway. An ongoing threat of harm by psychopaths who are stalking and are hostile is ceaselessly underway, while you have that entity that is engaged in what is taking their time and providing that which is under no circumstances, clearly, having no proper basis in the custody of anyone but myself. So I want to make sure that that is clearly stated and understood as well. And Jason Isaac Fields is not conducting any legitimate investigation, and it's not going to be converted into a legitimate investigation at some point in the future, nor has it in the past. You remain subject to the pattern of conduct, just like Tracy Banks is. Because Tracy Banks is engaged in that. Just because I'm not in her presence, that does not mean that she is not still gang stalking. She is. And so is Jason Fields. And so is the entity. While I'm in the city of Fontana, the Ontario Police Department are still a part of the entity. They are still gang stalking as an entity. The entity is engaging in this, and the ongoing psychopathic means of stalking me is speaking to the same entity that's providing undue engaging in what is an undue delay with an intent to harm me, with an intent to create as much harm and inflict as much suffering as possible. That is relevant to recovery. That is relevant to convictions and those that are going to federal prison for it. And it includes Jason Isaac Fields. It is 12:07 p.m. I'm going to go through the documentation regarding those that are engaging in surveillance. Where a population is keeping you under surveillance, that population is keeping you under surveillance with the full intention to commit murder. And that full intention to steal that which it knows belongs to you. And this is an entity, the Nephilim, to be specific, who are demons proven through what is a fake sun remaining over me as I travel from Ontario, Euclid Avenue, to Fontana, the Fontana Lewis Library, where the supernatural is not missed. It is at the forefront. The prosecution is to a scientific degree of certainty, proving that the entity is targeting, and this entity, this mass amount of surveillance is underway with the intent to commit murder as an entity. And Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison for it, also going to federal prison based on the unlawful threat posed to me and the inhumane level of suffering inflicted based on the circumstances of an entity that wants to commit murder to steal my home, steal my businesses, steal my money, steal my property, steal my intellectual property. And that's relevant to the ongoing state that I remain in, the economic state that is caused by this entity that is still gang stalking. No court is going to provide the targeting entity the discretion to fork over property that belongs to a targeted individual or to cease engage in targeting. That is what is insufficient about the government's conduct, inappropriate, what is self-serving about the government's conduct. And this is relevant to legislation, and it's relevant to the prosecution that shall be a means of establishing precedent to protect American citizens who are subject to domestic terrorism. All right. It is currently 12:09 p.m. The entity is engaged in targeting, as I am going to go through the documentation and publish on this podcast. And it is also published on the Google Drive. The website is thisistäPOC.wordpress.com. Today is October 1st, 2025, where I will publish all of the evidence. And it is also relevant, like I am pointing out, as I capture it, I capture the specific environment in the city of Fontana. There is history here. With regard to the Fontana Police Department, there is history here. The ongoing terrorism that I'm subject to in the city of Fontana is that which is in conformity to the pattern of conduct, that which the entity is committing, doing so in concert with Jason Fields, doing so in concert with Tracy Banks, doing so in concert with the court that is not providing justice, while any aspect of this entity is engaging in what is having the discretion to hand over, deliver property, which is key in the deliverance from the threat to your life. Because of that, because of what it is that I'm subject to, because of the ways in which the entity fails to appreciate that threat, and by appreciate it, meaning they're the ones that are, the entity is the ones that's forming that and creating that and causing that threat, inflicting that threat. But the entity, as you are lacking appreciation of that, because it's also the corrupt government that's playing the arbiter of justice, if you will, because of the lack of appreciation, that's also relevant to the prosecution of that corrupt government that is proven to be engaged in the pattern of conduct in the first place. And that's going to be adequately addressed in a prosecution. Justice requires that. Okay, no form, no aspect of suffering, no circumstance of suffering caused by a targeting entity is going to be missed. It's not going to be negotiated out of. It's not going to be overlooked, because the entity at some point in time eventually gave over what it stole in the first place. Understand, my money and property is one key aspect to the entity ceasing targeting. While the entity is under the delusion that they're going to get away with stealing my money and property, the city of Fontana is still gang stalking me. Demons inside of the Fontana Lewis Library are stalking me, engaging in surveillance inside of this venue. It's directly relevant to the ongoing threat to my life and safety and well-being. And because of that, the entity is going to be prosecuted for it. Okay, it is 12:12 p.m. Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, and this is the P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is campus in Holt Boulevard at 7:49 a.m. This is Route 61, where I'm on the same route headed toward this direction at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the evening. The fake sun is engaging in the same conduct, exposing the Nephilim, demons who are stalking, like corrupt companies like Griffith, who under the fake sun, Route 87, yesterday at 11 o'clock in the morning, coming from Ontario Police Department, the fake sun is remaining over me on this same street at the B&G Plaza, and I am headed toward the city of Fontana that is headed east, and you're looking at the same exact circumstance, which is impossible to be the case. And it's also impossible when I'm getting off of the bus Route 87 yesterday at 7:55, and the entity has the fake sun en route for the entirety of the Route 87. And I'm going in the opposite direction. I'm going toward the Ontario Police Department at 2500 South Archibald. I get off at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue, where the fake sun is present over me at that intersection. And just like this employee, the employee 3833 is molesting me with impossible light as a hostile minion that is molesting pursuant to what is the pattern of conduct of monitoring the evidence that they're triggered by. This is Bondview and Holt Boulevard. This is called Crossing Path. 36065Z1 is a third party, not a private citizen, and engaged in criminal surveillance on the roads and the highways. This is the pattern of conduct that OMNITRANS is engaging in. This is P.O.C. I just want to get that license plate. They're stalking. That's what the entity is doing, stalking in the path, while the fake sun is the proof of it. P.O.C. Impossible light activity. And you understand that it's also impossible light activity, aside from just light manifesting out of nowhere, moving around on surfaces pursuant to surveillance. It's also impossible because the sun is over me on Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue yesterday at the same time after I've already gotten off of Route 87. This is Route 61. This is the airport that is being shut down for terrorism, the Ontario International Airport, at 7:58 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me at the Ontario Town Square. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me at the Chevron and the ARCO on Euclid Avenue. And the fake sun is in the window over me while I'm on public transportation. That's the roads and the highways. Interstate commerce is what's legally relevant, and criminal surveillance is underway. Also by a business commercially. All of this is legally relevant with regard to the prosecution. License 7LNE397. Taking off from here, from the airport, and hovering over the Ontario Town. You're also not opening and closing the doors, and light is fanning around naturally. You are targeting with light. You're targeting with presence. You're targeting while you're engaged in surveillance. And there is no sun that's going to be in the window of the same bus route at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the evening, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Every other route as well, 87, the same thing during the 7 a.m. route yesterday, and 11 a.m. as I got off in Ontario at the B&G Plaza. The fake sun is over me at the B&G Plaza as I get on, and the fake sun is remaining over me. And this is, again, the airport where the entity is engaged in targeting me in furtherance of murder. The Ontario International Airport is a domestic terrorist, and it is going to be shut down. This is Terminal Way, and the fake sun is keeping in alignment. This is impossible, and also the light that is around is impossible. It's demonic. Impossible, engineered is synonymous with demonic with regard to the pattern of conduct, the maintenance of engineered light, and that's a prosecution also for terrorism and psychological torture and sexual violence. Ronald Loveridge, Kurt Hagman, Jim Bowman, Alan D. Wapner, Julia Gu. These are demons of referring to themselves as an Ontario Airport Board. They're terrorists, and they've engaged in kidnapping me, assaulting me with a deadly weapon. They've engaged in what is attempted murder as an entity. They've engaged in ongoing documented psychological torture as commercial planes from the airport that will never engage in hovering at any of the documented venues, including the Ontario Town Square at 224 North Euclid Avenue, when you're taking off in the sky space at the airport, when the entity is keeping a fake sun over me, which is relevant to the targeting that I'm documenting right now. This is speaking to the removal of the airport for terrorism and furtherance of murder, exposing public corruption, and the ongoing intent to obstruct justice. This is P.O.C. This is Terminal 4 and Terminal 3. This is light activity. That's merchants, gang stalking at the airport. This is all the elements of monitoring ongoing at the airport. And this is not a legitimate airport. What is published on the website is not what I'm documenting. Starlux Airlines, Southwest Airlines. Yeah, this is Terminal 4. The Ontario Police are engaged in surveillance at the airport. That's light activity, stalking in the path. And they are all aware that I'm here and they're monitoring me. That's how you have the fake sun, and a scientific impossibility. And it's also absolutely asinine. Okay, taking off from here is not going to include what I'm documenting, targeting by the planes. That's the pattern of conduct, however. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:01 a.m. 8 AGA 795, 9 KMY 669, stalking. Stalking a specific person as proven to the specific environment. This is P.O.C. We're going in the opposite direction on the same street. This is asininity. P.O.C. July 4th, 2025. The entity has the fake sun over the top of my head at West Valley entrance doors. That's at 9500 Etiwanda Avenue. That's a gang stalking facility, a state facilitating venue that is engaged in the satanic pattern of conduct. Shannon Dyke is keeping me under surveillance and kidnapping me and doing so, monitoring me, just like OMNITRANS is monitoring me, while I'm looking at the same venue where the fake sun is. Same time of year analysis is relevant here at 12:51 p.m. That fake sun is in its zenith over the top of my head after I'm released from kidnapping, not a lawful detention, where this entity that is including OMNITRANS at 8:20 in the morning has the fake sun over me at the intersection of San Bernardino 4th and Etiwanda Avenue. We're gang stalking 8 LEV 768, San Bernardino County crossing path, gang stalking with specific knowledge of my... And the fake sun is the proof of that. And this is not going to be at the same location, which is the West Valley Detention Center at 12:51 in the afternoon. This is actually remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library if it were not the pattern of conduct. But this is going to be over the Fontana Lewis Library, which is pursuant to the pattern of conduct of stalking by the Nephilim, the demon-possessed, that are engaged in a sex offense together. Every business, every third party, these are demons that are listening to me and monitoring together, including the demons on the bus. Okay? The demons that are crossing paths on the roads of the highway, this is federal stalking, and they're doing so as businesses, and they're doing so as the corrupt jail, Shannon Dykes. And again, that's the agency that's engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario Police and the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, and they are the Nephilim. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:21 a.m. The entity has the fake sun over me yesterday when I'm en route to the Ontario Police Department. The entity that's engaged in stalking with light is doing so on this bus as well. The perpetual sex offense remains ceaselessly underway. And this fake sun, every street, every turn, 7RZK435, representing an entity keeping me under surveillance. This is P.O.C. This is the infamous Juniper and San Bernardino Avenue, and it is at 8:38 in the morning. Remember, I'm capturing at 8:47 a.m. yesterday the fake sun that is over me while I'm in the city of Ontario, and this is the entity that has the fake sun over me in the city of Fontana. The means of traffic is surveillance, and these are demons, and this is an entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct as proven through the scientific impossibility that the sun would be over me. For example, I'm on the same bus route, and the sun is remaining street for street, turn for turn, Route 61. That's, first of all, speaking to clear targeting. Second of all, it's identifying the commercial actor OMNITRANS. And third of all, OMNITRANS represents an entity that is stalking, monitoring, targeting together. And this is at San Bernardino and Juniper. The entity has the fake sun in the window on June 3rd, 2025 after 5 p.m. And I'm capturing while on this same route, headed back toward Ontario where I boarded this bus, the entity keeping the fake sun. And at this venue, where this third party also knows that I routinely document at this corner, it's present 6SWX049, and the fake sun turns as this bus turns. This is the pattern of conduct, and these are demons on this bus, sharing in the sexual assault and battery, sharing in terrorism, sharing in harassment, and so is the employee. The entity is engaged in what is monitoring my device, monitoring on the internet, the OMNITRANS Wi-Fi, and also monitoring my person while I'm subject to the sex offense of molestation with impossible light. And it's also impossible because the sun is not going to be through the window over the Juniper apartments right here on Route 61, while it's also at the same time, also before 2025, the entity is keeping the fake sun while I'm already in the city of Fontana, by the way, while I'm remaining in Los Angeles as I'm documenting same time of year, also while I'm at the venue of the Ontario Town Square, where the entity is keeping that fake sun. But that's just one example as of late. The entity is keeping the fake sun with regard to documenting how an entity, a public entity, is engaging what is a satanic means of targeting. All right, this is P.O.C. But as you look at what OMNITRANS is engaging on the roads and the highways, the entity is keeping that fake sun at the Juniper and San Bernardino Avenue intersection, while I'm capturing it at what is morning, afternoon, and evening, which is identification of targeting in a specific environment where there are no strangers. The entities engaging in the pattern of conduct, maintaining presence in that environment, which is how you're monitoring. All right, this is demonic. This is employee 2647 that's engaging in the perpetual sex offense as an entity. And this is the government that's keeping me under surveillance through OMNITRANS 67882M2, 44613M2, 8VSA765, an impossible light touching me on the bus while demons are driving by that is crossing path. And this is indeed the Nephilim. It's a sex offense committed by the entity. It is 8:41 a.m. There's a supernatural for you. Employee 2647 engaging in the perpetual sex offense with every stop being molested with impossible light, these rubber bound doors where no light is reflecting. And it's also not when the sun is remaining in Ontario at the Ontario Police Department. This is the Fontana METROLINK train station. The people of the state share in that sex offense, which is demonic, and it's also relevant to psychological torture. This is impossible light that she's been molesting my body with. None of this is sunlight. This is criminal surveillance in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And the company OMNITRANS is a state actor. And every employee, the sex offenders that are, again, employee 3833, employee 2647, is sharing in that. That's impossible light fanning outside and inside while the demons are riding on the bus, gang stalking together. This is the city of Fontana. It is 8:52 a.m. At 8:47 a.m., I'm capturing video. This is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. monitoring also on the video of the internet. This is the significance of stalking with impossible light so that every demon can maintain the elements of monitoring. None of that sunlight. Remember, it's in at the Ontario Police Department yesterday, and it's in alignment to me where I'm getting off the bus for the entirety of the route, getting on the bus at B&G Plaza, getting off of the bus at Fontana Metrolink train station. This is light activity. This is giving you context regarding what is not legitimate business, what are demons engaged in diligent and obsessive and psychopathic level stalking and monitoring. And this is the Nephilim. All right, I'm at the Fontana Metrolink train station, as I've documented as a term of years. The entity that has this fake sun after 5 and 6 o'clock, that is setting at the Fontana Metrolink train station. That's a demon walking in engineer light monitoring with a communication device. This is P.O.C. It's 8:53 a.m. All right, and this is license 1399982. This is license 1545837. And this is the entity that keeps the fake sun over me where I go, and that's the distinction, and that is no imagination, no hallucination, and no paranoia by an American citizen that's subject to targeting by the Nephilim that are targeting you, which is shown through the specific environment. And as they go about in different directions, the fake sun remains over the target individual, which is how I have the fake sun over me at this same address at the end of the day when it's on this side, and the people that stayed are gang stalking. And this is a sex offender that is monitoring your genitalia, okay? This is the entity that's gang stalking as the Ontario Police Department are shown to be the Nephilim that committed kidnapping as an entity, the Nephilim that committed assault with a deadly weapon as an entity, the Ontario International Airport, which is the Nephilim, engaging in targeting using commercial planes, and they are doing so pursuant to what is a pattern of conduct. It is currently 8:54 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is impossible light activity. This is P.O.C. All right, this is documentation of what is stalking. All right, gang stalking 101. This is called presence in the path, and it's criminal. All right, and this is a facilitating venue, not public property where you're cleared to engage in criminal surveillance with the government. That's a gang stalker as well, 9NPB782. That's light activity while they're driving under the fake sun. That's at the Ontario Police Department at 2500 South Archibald Avenue 24 hours ago at the same minute right now. This is an entity that's anticipating my presence in that environment where you're also recognizing, again, here's my shadow on both sides of me. There's the sex offender OMNITRANS, and the bus is not keeping a sun in the window of the bus routes, contrary to what the sex offender OMNITRANS is committing as I document them gang stalking in furtherance of murder. The entity is engaged in gang stalking as the Ontario Police Department are exposed as the Nephilim, engaging in what is gang stalking. That means that those are kidnappings that they've committed, as I am clearly proving that they are lying as they commit those kidnappings. Those are kidnappings also shared by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. And the natural environment will never include, like I documented in September of 2025 at the Fontana Lewis Library. You can see the clock. That's where the entrance is, where a demon is monitoring. He's moving as I zoom in. That's where the demon is arriving in a vehicle, getting in the car, having a baby, having a picnic, taking back a 40 ounce, is gang stalking under the fake sun. 9RFS44 gang stalking as well, and those are demons. Those are white people stalking a black person, by the way, okay? The entity is engaging in this, and there's no sun over the Ontario Police Department. That was the target for you to recognize demons who are monitoring. And it's not over the Ontario Police Department. It's reflecting over this windshield right here in front of me, where I'm looking at 8AUD557 at Arrow and Sierra Avenue, where I've documented the fake sun through the window on Spring Shame Fontana Lewis Library, where I arrived in September at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I arrive ahead of schedule today while I'm at the same time at the Ontario Police Department. That's recognizing the behavioral pattern of the demons that are engaging in surveillance on your devices and on the internet, in your home, monitoring your person. The demon possessed that are engaged in the uncanny ability to stalk with what is impossible light activity while they drive by. These are demons. The sound of the motor is audible activity. Driving under the fake sun is light activity. And you have to be present stalking in order to do that. And that's what the Nephilim are doing. And they, the government, the demons, monitor my vagina. They monitor your genitalia. This is the sex offense committed by an entity. And this is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. And this is also letting you know what every other gang stalker is doing, calling itself a police department, because the Fontana police are engaged in the same pattern of conduct. That's why they're driving under the fake sun in the afternoon on this same street on video, like I captured when I was at the Fontana Lewis Library. And they're driving on Sierra Avenue, crossing path, while the fake sun is remaining in alignment to that window where I remain into the evening, where the entity kept the fake sun Don't forget what these demons already provide while they're obsessively stalking, and they are following the leader, that is myself, who are leading the Nephilim to both exposure and prosecution. They're going to be committed and convicted. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:19 a.m. Fontana, California. P.O.C. This is a pregnant silence, by the way. Okay, the demons, the Nephilim, they are engaging in criminal surveillance in the city of Fontana, and they are masquerading as a Fontana Police Department. This is the same venue where I'm documenting this fake sun, by the way, in perfect alignment to me at this same Fontana Police Department in 2022, which is relevant to what would be the duration of time regardless of daylight savings time. You're only accounting for an hour. What the entity is engaging in under a fake sun is probative scientific evidence regarding targeting that is identified in an environment, and the environment is also identifying the condition and the criminal conduct of those in that environment engaging in what is a pattern of targeting me and harassing. Okay, this includes the Fontana Police Department and everything that they are engaging in pursuant to what would be and should be a legitimate law enforcement agency. It is not. It is pursuant to what is criminal monitoring. The Fontana Police Department is a gang stalking agency engaging in the pattern of conduct where the fake sun is in alignment to me at this same venue where I'm standing on the sidewalk on the opposite side to the same gate, and I've captured the demons in the parking lot. They're moving their vehicles around under the fake sun. They're doing so as I'm documenting in April of 2022. And then I am also documenting during the 5 p.m., 6 p.m. hour. This is documentation that's already published on the website at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, and it is documentation that is being systematically uploaded to YouTube, where the public investigation is remaining underway, and also the public prosecution, which is first accomplished on the internet, and then it is going to be completed in a federal tribunal regarding what everyone in this country and basically the world and many other parts of the world already know, what American citizens may be slow to realize, that we are under surveillance in America, in the United States of America, and the gang stalking police departments, they're engaged in surveillance, and this is the Nephilim that are here, and they are engaged in targeting with the people to say that's what this third party represents. She's engaged in what is presence in the path at the Fontana Police Department, where the sun would not still be present at what is in the middle of the afternoon at 1 o'clock, or regardless of daylight savings time, it's 9:32 a.m. The fake sun would not be over the Ontario Police Department like it is yesterday. The fake sun would not be, regardless of daylight savings time, over the same venue in alignment to the same person. That's myself that's documenting that phenomenon as I'm standing at the same property on the sidewalk on the opposite side of this same parking lot after 6 p.m., which is what I have on the record. All right, this is evidence of criminal conduct. This is a state facilitating venue. Where you're recognizing a venue, you are approving and prosecuting criminal surveillance. And everything that agency has engaged in, including expelling from the San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County is a well-documented gang stalker. San Bernardino County state facilitating venue of the Fontana Lewis Library. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 9:33 a.m. This is Fontana, California, and this is documentation, that which is in conformity to what I've already shown about the Fontana police, that are engaged in heavy targeting, psychological torture, violence, and obstruction of justice, stalking and monitoring me, and following and harassing with helicopters, and doing so in the phenomenon of what is the fake sun, even as I'm at the Fontana Lewis Library, which is on the opposite side of this building, and the fake sun is still setting. I documented this in September 5. This is crossing path. This is what is so pathetic and shameful about the Nephilim that are wearing police uniforms, and they're going to be stripped of those, basically those costumes, because that's exactly what this is. This is Satan that is engaging in what is surveillance and masquerading as what is supposed to be respected and given some placement of nobility, respected as law enforcement, and they are nothing remotely close to that. This is public corruption, and that's how I'm able to capture the fake sun over me at the Fontana Police Department. This is putting everything that I already have on the record regarding targeting in helicopters, like the very heavily documented demons to be disbanded, the Ontario Police, and the Los Angeles Police Department, in the same exact specific environment, which defies nature, science, logic, common sense. All right, that's speaking to what is hardcore evidence, okay, probative, highly probative evidence, scientific evidence regarding targeting a specific person, and shattering the illusion that we have privacy and that people that you don't know and never met are strangers to you. All right, the elements of monitoring remain underway. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:35 a.m. License plate 6803 4X3, and they're engaged in monitoring with the Fontana police. Just to be clear, the entity is doing so in what is very much the engineered environment. You're seeing this in Ontario yesterday at the Walgreens at Archibald and Riverside, light manifesting in the shade. And then you're looking at those that are engaged in psychopathic behavior, targeting you while being no relation to you, not speaking to you. This is the pattern of conduct regarding public corruption, and it is that which is designed to criminally defame an American citizen. Sunlight is not manifesting out of nowhere. It's not bouncing off of vehicles. It's not shooting at a distance. It's not appearing underneath surfaces. This is the entity that is indeed engaged in gang stalking, identified by a fake son over a fake police department that's going to be prosecuted for targeting me for years. This is the Fontana police exposed as the Nephilim. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently P.O.C., as you can clearly see, the fake sun being over the Fontana Police Department, which is in that direction, being over the Fontana Metrolink train station, which is down Sierra, remaining in alignment to me as I walk to Arrow and Sierra. And this is all in Fontana after riding Route 61 from Ontario, when yesterday I am at Riverside Avenue and Archibald Avenue, Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. And that's letting you know the condition of those and the criminal conduct of those that are in the presence of what is the targeted individual under a fake sun, speaking to a very important condition to recognize, which is demon possession. And those that are of that condition are violent sex offenders, and they are engaged in what is monitoring, which only demons do. This is San Bernardino County. This is the fake sun as I arrived in September of 2025. The entity has the fake sun over the roof like it is now, and it remains into the afternoon, where it is outside of the window, the Spring Street entrance. And these are demons, just like at the Ovid Family Community Library, pacing an engineer light that's on the outside and the inside of the light under what is not the sun, while it's over the Walgreens at Riverside Drive in Ontario, California, for purposes of what is monitoring. San Bernardino County, which is engaged in criminal surveillance, engaged in what is targeting, and also targeting which is underway inside of bathrooms, which is a sex offense committed as an entity. And this is the living dead. These are demons. That's what's so icky about this conduct. It's very creepy. It's also criminal. This is the government that's engaging in criminal surveillance, and the dead are of all ages. Every company in California is engaged in criminal surveillance, and this is about being in my path, not about getting into that door. And when opening and closing the door, impossible light activity manifests under what is the sun that's not going to be over the Fontana Lewis Library, 8437 Sierra Avenue. When it's over the Walgreens, where light is manifesting in the shade, just like you see here, identifiable pattern of conduct where monitoring is underway amongst the demon possessed. All right, you're juxtaposing the city of Fontana with the city of Ontario. This is the entity that's engaging in and what is the P.O.C. That's audible activity. Crossing a path. And as they walk in opposite directions, see the light of the door closing? It's impossible light. It's also impossible while the sun's in Ontario. Over me in Ontario. This is systematic monitoring. P.O.C. All right? And the entity kept the fake sun. I've documented over this same roof after 5 and 6 p.m. This is the state of California that's engaged in gang stalking. All right, that's the pattern of conduct, and it is requiring what's going to be federal prison for the entity that's engaged in what is kidnapping, just like the Ontario Police Department engages in, with the intent to obstruct justice. P.O.C. License plate 9UXP 167. License 8AWG 316. 9JPA 747. DM 39W48 7WJE 933 9TUV 166 License 6Y.I.S. 367. 8BJB012. 9BKF198. 8BJB012. 7ZJE651. 6PLL308. 8XXE816. That's 8 Xavier Edward 816. Like 7 Henry 72550. EG00TQD, I believe. That's a paper plate, and it's on a silver. It looks like an A5, like a Audi, and it's a paper plate. Looks like EQ00TD0 or DU. Substantially similar, and it is uploaded to the Google Drive at 6:55 a.m. and 58 seconds. So that's 065558. Five 6038 Zebra 3 SFR. That's again Sam Frank Roger 1980. That's Texas. Four Frank George 2580, and that is a commercial vehicle engaged in facilitation, stalking with light activity in the path, doing so at Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, at the same street where the entity then commits what is rising the fake sun. That same fake sun that you will see in documentation followed me to the city of Fontana, and nowhere near nor at the same time can the natural environment, which you are always going to prosecute the Nephilim by, the engineered environment is relevant to what is proving targeting to a scientific degree, and it is also letting you know that the Nephilim demons are engaged in what is monitoring, which is demonic, and it is committed in furtherance of murder and kidnapping and inhumane level of sexual violence committed by that entity, and it is all state action. And at Chevron at 6:56 a.m., the entity is engaged in what is a delivery as the guise of presence, light activity, and ongoing audible activity, monitoring me as an entity at the intersection of E Street and Euclid, where the fake sun is both captured rising and setting, by the way. Recall my documentation, and you can also look at the screenshots captured this morning of the Route 66 car show, where I am after 6 p.m. at the same location. You will see demons as the fake sun is present on the same street at the same address between Chevron and ARCO, 434 North Euclid Avenue and 506 North Euclid Avenue, the same E Street and Euclid Avenue intersection. And at no point would the sun be in Fontana, be over me through the window of the bus headed toward Fontana, be over the roof of the Fontana Lewis Library, remain over the roof of the Fontana Lewis Library from 9:59 a.m. until 2 p.m. Okay? This is the pattern of conduct, and that is a license plate again of the commercial actor engaging in facilitation, a method of flashing of light which is demonic. 4FG2580. 7 Edward 84558. 9 Frank 83304. 7XIY347. 9 Henry Nancy Jerry 986. 9 Uncle Samuel David 122. 'Merchants Building Maintenance' is a commercial actor, gang stalking. License 49026 Apple 4. 9 David Wendy Uncle 664. 7 Larry Xavier Paul 960. 8 Paul Nancy Wendy 750. Charlie Yolanda 14 Karen 91. That's a paper plate on a Ford truck. Greenscape Landscape Services is identification of the commercial actor that is on the side of a truck where demons are operating. Gang stalking, those are third parties operating the vehicle, and the third party business itself is another third party, a malicious guise of gang stalking. This is where you're engaging in landscaping while you're simultaneously maintaining criminal presence in the path, stalking under what is a fake sun amongst engineer light, and creating any method of activity which you're doing by virtue of presence, light and or audible activity where you are necessarily stalking. And this is how the government is doing it through the people of the state who utilize and extend their businesses that will also be prosecuted. All right, Greenscape. Name of that third party business, and that is, yeah, that's that license plate. It's a paper plate CY14K91. Looks like 7 David Victor Frank 944. Apple Thomas Zebra 98. Again, that's Apple Thomas Zebra 98 on a Tesla. License 8 Apple 26467. License 9 Uncle Apple Nancy 447. License Larry Edward Open Bob Larry David 2. Again, it looks like it's Leopold 2. That is, the characters on the license plate is, again, Larry Edward 0, Bob Larry David 2. That is the gang stalking company, Leonida Builders Incorporated. Gang stalking under the fake sun rising at the same ARCO where it is setting, as I'm documenting at the Route 66, which was along the same Euclid Avenue, the same address. Leonida Builders Incorporated is a third-party gang stalking company, and everybody in relevant position operating those vehicles are third parties. And Leonida Builders Incorporated is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and it is another company exposed to being raided for hiring terrorists, the immigrant population engaging in what is gang stalking under the guise of this corrupt business that's engaging in the pattern of conduct and engaging in terrorism. And this is where more terrorists can be found, and a possibility of the immigrant population working for Leonida Builders Incorporated engaged in gang stalking that is relevant to terrorism. All right. License 58012J3. License 46183 Uncle 1. License 72478 Yolanda 3. License 31035 Zebra 3. These are all construction vehicles, as the entity was maintaining facilitation in the parking lot of the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, where the Ontario International Airport is flying over that parking lot, targeting and doing so. And the fake sun is also rising at that parking lot, and that's the same location where I'm capturing the fake sun in the evening. I did capture screenshots so you can see a vivid illustration. of the sunrise and the sunset at one street at one address, and then you were able to see the Nephilim in clear view, and you were able to see the malice of the gang stalking system, demons that are maliciously targeting an American citizen. License 79792B3. That is again Leonida Builders Incorporated. 33877 Uncle 3. 8 Charlie Edward Bob 629. 176882 Thomas. That's a commercial vehicle. It's a large truck with the word ACT on it, the logo ACT, AAA Cooper Transportation. So AAA Cooper, T is the acronym ACT. It's a gang stalking company. And license plate 7JVW 930. 7 Jerry Victor Wendy 930. 6 Zebra Wendy Paul 803. Looks like 29630Y2. 6 George Igloo Zebra 410. 6 George Isaiah Zebra 410. 86309 B3. B as in boy. 8 Nancy Henry David 604. 9 Edward Zebra Karen 253. 23630Y2. So I read that one before. It is associated with the gang stalkers of Leonida Builders Incorporated. That's again 23630Y2. This is a paper plate, license NY 874520. And so the way that it's appearing on the license plate is NY-874-520, driven by an African American male. On captured in images at 7:21 and 29 seconds. This appears to be perhaps a Dodge Charger. License 67899 David 3. License 9 David Thomas Jerry 756. And again 7XIY347 is the Chevron employee that's gang stalking with the state, and the business Chevron is gang stalking as well. 8 Samuel Mary George 325. The ARCO is gang stalking at 434 North Euclid Avenue, and the ARCO employee is gang stalking. License 9 Thomas Isaiah Henry 520. License 7 Larry Mary Apple 518. 86309 B3. I might have read that one before. They are driving on Euclid Avenue, crossing path, and then engaging in what is stalking in the path, loitering in the path by filling up their tank at the ARCO gas station in relevant position, creating light activity, audible activity, gang stalking. And ARCO's engaged in profiting from it. This is relevant to the federal RICO case against corrupt businesses like ARCO and businesses like We Wash Your Car Like a Pro, Wash Wash Mo Auto Detail. They're a gang stalking company. It's a third party. License 7 Bob Xavier Zebra 432. 66440 Robert 1. 10502 Jerry 3, I believe. Let me see. 10682 Jerry 3, I believe. Yeah, that's correct. Six Jerry Bob Paul 738. Five Thomas Nancy Zebra 193. 9 Jerry David Thomas 578. 7 Bob Charlie Henry 361. 92172U2. This is Chino Care Adult Day Health Care. It's gang stalking. While it may be en route to go pick up elderly people within the city of Ontario, they're gang stalking in doing so, and not the first adult day health care gang stalking business, gang stalking organization. In fact, this is what the entity uses to typically engage in targeting amongst the elderly who are equally demonic, equally criminal, equally perverted, engaging in the P.O.C. License 8 Kelly Robert Samuel 920. 8 Charlie Zebra Yolanda 744. Zero 9715 Mary 3. 9 Xavier Victor Jerry 312. Priority Landscape Services LLC is gang stalking on Holt Boulevard at Metro 102 Apartments. This is captured in images at 7:44 a.m. and 19 seconds. And they are doing so. The fake sun is on the same Holt Boulevard where I departed OMNITRANS Route 87 coming from the Ontario Police Department. And the entity had the fake sun on the same street. This was during the 11 a.m. hour. And this is showing Priority Landscape Services LLC engaged in the targeting system, stalking in the path, engaged in light activity, just like Leonida Builders Incorporated are using a business maliciously to engage in the demonic and criminal elements of monitoring and furtherance of surveillance, conspiring against an American citizen that also these demons, this entity knows is documenting it, which is relevant to the unlawful threat posed by this business, Priority Landscape Services LLC, and the entity at large, as the entirety of that entity is posing a threat while gang stalking in the face of ongoing documentation that it is keeping under surveillance, much like the city of Fontana, obstructing justice, interfering with the operation of the internet while they are still gang stalking, proven through a fake sun plopped on the roof of the Fontana Lewis Library. License 1465787, vehicle 4149. This is City of Ontario that's gang stalking through the Andy's Burgers drive-thru, and you will see the fake sun over the same B&G Plaza where I departed Route 87 OMNITRANS, which I documented, where Griffith Construction is gang stalking, where Southwest Airlines is gang stalking, and the fake sun remained in the window of Route 87 going toward the destination that I departed from this morning. And that fake sun is over the same B&G Plaza at 410 East Holt Boulevard. All right, going through a drive-through is a psychopathic and very malicious method of stalking, targeting someone, and also psychologically torturing them. That is, stalking one person, targeting one person in a manner that other people are not supposed to be able to recognize and that the target individual is not supposed to be able to prove based on engaging in an activity that appears on its surface to have nothing to do with that target individual, i.e. going through the drive-thru, ordering food, conducting a business, preparing food, Andy's Burgers, and you are ignorant about the specific environment where all of those demons, the business, the municipality, the demons operating the business, the demons operating the vehicles, are all together targeting as one entity. That's the malice behind conspiring the murder of an American citizen, sexually violating them in inhumane and satanic ways, which is getting to what is malicious, because that which is satanic is relevant to the spiritual realm, i.e. invisible, and the P.O.C. is giving you tangible evidence regarding what the demon-possessed are doing, and it is the government that's maliciously targeting American citizens. And this is the significance of the fake sun being over the same B&G Plaza that it is hours from when I'm capturing the city of Ontario gang stalking through the Andy's Burgers drive-thru. 7:45 a.m. versus I'm arriving during the 11 a.m. hour yesterday after coming from, remember, I'm landing at, getting off of OMNITRANS at 7:54 a.m. at Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. And this morning I'm at 7:45 a.m. having not gotten on any bus on Holt Boulevard, where I will be getting off of the bus yesterday during the 11 a.m. hour. The fake sun is there. This is the illusion that you are able to see and you're not deceived by when demons are monitoring. The psychopaths that are obsessively stalking in the library, as I show you in the images, you're not just sitting there, you're stalking. You're breathing down my neck. You are obsessively consumed with following me and being near, and that includes in the bathroom. These are demons and they're engaged in psychopathic stalking, okay? Obsessive and mentally deranged methods of targeting. All right, so this is license plate at the B&G Plaza is where I board OMNITRANS, and on aboard OMNITRANS Route 61, just like Route 87, that are not taking the same streets, they are not going in the same direction, and they are not running at the same time. None of those features, however, would be an explanation for the sun remaining over me through the windows of these bus routes at all times of the day, and this is what I've documented. License 9FNY190 is proven to be stalking in that environment where they are not just present, but the entity is also engaged in stalking me, targeting me with impossible light activity. This is where you're getting beyond a coincidence or ignorant presence in the path. This is the malice of the Nephilim. These are the sex offenders that and the serial killers that are targeting, and it's supposed to be a passive-aggressive system that falsely depicts the character of that targeted individual. This is why Jason Isaacfield is going to federal prison. All right, license plate EG 52, Edward George 52 Uncle 65. That's a paper plate. Edward David Samuel David Robert Samuel 1. That's on a commercial vehicle, Ed's Garage Doors. That business is corrupt. It's engaged in criminal monitoring in the state of California, and the driver is identified by that license plate, engaged in criminal monitoring. Doing so at what is Vineyard and Airport Road, where the fake sun remains over me as I capture on video at the Ontario International Airport. 8 Robert Henry Frank 713. License 7 Charlie Larry Apple 444. Eight Thomas Bob Paul 198. 7 Larry Nancy Kelly 913. 7 Mary Xavier Samuel 574. Sicard Pool and Spa, a gang stalking company, which I believe is located off of Haven in Rancho Cucamonga. And this is a corrupt company engaged in criminal surveillance, and the license plate is 24181 Charlie 3. 9 Nancy Zebra Nancy 380. 8 Xavier Paul Henry 445. 8 David Wendy Frank 426. 9 Nancy Samuel Henry 265. These are gang stalkers in the city of Rancho Cucamonga, by the way, while I'm on Route 66, and the entities engaged in federal stalking on the roads and the highways. This is relevant to interstate commerce within the language of that federal stalking statute. Third party, Reliance Still, dot number 143532, California 0491654. This is a corrupt trucking business. They are engaged in criminal surveillance and the perpetual sex offense, committing sexual assault and battery with impulsive light activity while targeting me on the bus, while the fake sun remains in alignment to me over my head, that is, while through the window of that Route 61 bus headed toward the city of Fontana, where the fake sun remains over the Fontana Lewis Library, by the way. License 9 George 31770, both that trucking company and that demon operating that vehicle is the identification of 2 third parties. License 8 Yolanda Mary David 006. License 58883 Edward 4. License 8 Thomas Kelly 669. License 9 Thomas Apple George 700. 7U Thomas Wendy 459.
Hello?
OMNITRANS, the sex offender operating the OMNITRANS bus, committing the perpetual sex offense by virtue of a fake sun remaining over the bus, and this is the guise of a sex offender molesting you unbeknownst to you, and also molesting you with your knowledge while they're monitoring the evidence of the violation of your person with engineer light for the criminal purpose of monitoring you, surveilling you. OMNITRANS is engaging in this, and so is employee number 2647, operating bus number 2360 with license plate 1545837. This is a violent sex offender, and it's a demon operating an OMNITRANS bus, as all of them are demons sharing in the identical pattern of conduct, which I documented at the Fontana METROLINK train station. And the criminal pattern of conduct is also underway by METROLINK. License plate, and as the bus arrives at the Fontana METROLINK train station, so does the fake sun over me, and that's just an outright departure from the sun remaining over the intersection of Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. But at 9:06 a.m. when I am at the Fontana METROLINK train station, I'm still at the Ontario Police Department yesterday. I'm typically sitting at the Ontario Town Square, where the Ontario Police Department are flying circles over the top of my head by a helicopter with a fake sun sitting lower than the large clock at that Ontario Town Square, where that fake sun is still present at that same venue facing the Ontario Town Square, Ovid Family Community Library, upon closure as I exit in the evening at 6 p.m. At 9:16 a.m., just to remind you, I'm capturing the Ontario Police stalking using helicopter at the Ontario Police Department. There is no sun that is hovering over the bathroom at the Fontana Metrolink train station. That is the target showing the government engaged in what is federal group stalking and monitoring. That is exposing the demon-possessed that surround, okay, who are obsessively stalking. And license 1387339, OMNITRANS, bus number 1257, all sharing, all the businesses, all the people of the state. This is the government engaging in a massive sex offense, inhumane in nature. Let's see, license plate. Bus number 2354, license plate 1545685. This is another demon, pulls up in Route 61, another Route 61 bus to engage in maintaining impossible light activity, to engage in monitoring as I'm uploading documentation onto the venue of the internet, to engage in what is the ongoing harassment and sex offense of molesting with impossible light while rubber-bound doors under what's not even the sun, and under circumstances where sun is not flying off, surrounding on the inside and the outside of the bus as you open and close those doors. This sex offender engages in, and the sex offender is also identified as OMNITRANS, public transit, are engaging in that sex offense together while monitoring me through a population of demons that don't utter a word while they are engaged in that ongoing pattern of conduct together. This is license again 1545685, and this sex offender operating that vehicle in operation of his communication device, engaging in that sexual violence in concert with the government, on behalf of the government, and OMNITRANS is a state actor, and so are the employees as well. License plate 9 Samuel David Samuel 342, 6 David Isaiah Apple 228, 9 Jerry Victor Paul 610, 6 Jerry 10523, 9 Robert David Yolanda 281, 8 Henry Edward Yolanda 151, Mary Sam Wendy 4 Larry Frank 2, 9 Uncle Frank Nancy 788, 26348 Charlie 4, 8 Henry Edward Yolanda 151. I might have read that one already, just in case. 9 Henry Bob George 059, Kelly Xavier 352. That's a handicap plate. 9 Jerry Zebra Robert 545, 29019 Bob 3, 7 Uncle Larry Henry 131, 9 George Mary David 961, 9 Charlie Paul Henry 111, 6 Edward Zebra Henry 121, 7 Henry Nancy Samuel 94, 9 Thomas Zebra Charlie 434, 7 Thomas Henry Zebra 345, 7 Kelly Victor Kelly 568, 84528 Yolanda 3, 8 Paul Edward Sam 565, 9 9 Henry Thomas Charlie 683. 72845 Larry 2. 9 George Zebra 847. George 0D. And then there's like a plus sign. Larry Apple Wendy. So it's like says God cross law or God plus law. I don't know, but George 0 David. And then a plus signal or symbol. Larry Apple Wendy. This is captured in image 9:13 and 4 seconds. 6 Nancy Barry Wendy 733. 7 Xavier Zebra Victor 225. 79572 Yolanda 3. Edward George 60 Wendy 49. That's a paper plate on a Ford Expedition. Henry 8 Frank Robert Sam Charlie Zebra 0. Henry 8 Frank Robert Sam Charlie 0. As in hate Frisco is what that license plate is supposed to read as. Nine Jerry Zebra 756. 9 Kelly Zebra Paul 726. 9 Uncle Frank Mary 484. 7 Yolanda Larry Wendy 917. 9 George Charlie Yolanda 064. 9 Thomas Larry Wendy 768. And these are gang stalkers in the city of Fontana. Where I am at, where the city of Fontana is still targeting. Right now, everything you're hearing is pursuant to demons that are monitoring. Remember, they maintain noise to monitor and engineer light. So these are demons. 92997 Wendy 2. 1622252 and license 9 Larry Charlie Karen 677. And this is the municipality, the city of Fontana, gang stalking in a municipality vehicle. This is again the handiwork of Aquanetta Warren. She's a gang stalking mayor, license 1694409. In fact, the city of Ontario having a failure of technology at the state-of-art establishment of what is the Fontana Lewis Library, and we've got a failure of the internet. This is obstruction of justice while the city of Fontana is not missing a beat, gang stalking. Okay? License 68034 Xavier 3. They are also on video gang stalking at the Fontana Police Department. Those are the demons that know that they're documented, and they typically make decisions like that. Since they were already documented by license plate, they are the ones that choose to cross path on video. Okay, a lot of this is the rationale behind what the demons do as they're monitoring documentation and ceaselessly engaging in gang stalking in the face of that evidence. Robert Victor Wendy 7901 Texas. 5 David Barry Zebra 021. 5 Robert Jerry Xavier 134. This is American Guard Services, license 9 Kelly Frank Nancy 131. 9 Samuel Yolanda Barry 314. 9 Samuel Yolanda Barry 31. Oh yeah, this is the same one. 314. They cross path and then they park in the parking lot. License 9 Thomas Wendy Zebra 161. License 64089 George 3. A demon in the parking lot of the Fontana Police Department, stalking with audible noise, meaning as I'm in alignment with this demon, or the fake sun is in alignment with me in the presence of this demon. This demon closes the car door, which is significant to the pattern of conduct, stalking in the path, stalking with audible noise in the engineer light. This is what demons are doing while they're making all manner of noise pursuant to my physical movement and operation of my communication devices, and those are demons that are monitoring. This is underway at a Fontana Police Department. All right, license 6 Apple Henry Edwards 034. See. License 8 Frank Charlie Wendy 486. And by the way, the fake sun is over the Fontana Police Department at 9:30 in the morning. And when I step outside, I'm capturing the images of the fake sun where you hear a demon hacking, which is audible noise and engineered light to monitor. Everything is about monitoring. These are demons. You're not dealing with normal people. The entity is engaging in what is having the fake sun over the roof at 2 p.m. You can still see the Fontana Police Department on the opposite side of the same water fountain in the parking lot. This is the fake sun. That's monitoring that you're hearing in the form of hacking. License plate 8 Frank Charlie Wendy 486. License 8 Frank Thomas Yolanda 655. 69354 Robert 1. 7 Xavier Thomas Wendy 421. 8 Uncle Larry Kelly 277. 5 Charlie 0 Yolanda 839. Looks like 7 Mary Thomas George 718. Yeah, 7 MTG 718. 9 Frank Nancy Edward 849. 8 Uncle Zebra 220. 8 Nancy David Jerry 247. 7 Mary Bob 805. 8 Thomas Victor Bob 411. 8 Victor Henry Uncle 031. Fontana Lewis Library is again San Bernardino County. License 8 Thomas 0 Henry 819. 6 Nancy Robert David 236. All right, and it is necessary to note, relevant to, again, the entity that is monitoring evidence, OMNITRANS, a state actor engaged in providing what is a, quote, free day, end quote, by employee 2647, who's engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is, again, a basis to, this is not just a freebie that this gang stalking corrupt company, the government, is interested in providing. This is relevant to the ability to avoid identification of the people of the state who use their cell phones with their bus passes. That's a means of identifying the people of the state. With regard to getting on and off the bus without having to pay, it's a means of avoiding identification. So I want to make sure that that is also documented. The entity providing what is a quote, end quote, free day today. That's also, again, with my not using my bus pass, I'm not being identified. The buses do have surveillance cameras, however, but I do want to be clear, it is a mode of quote unquote anonymity. There is no such thing. The entity is surrounded in ways in which it has not thought of, in the same way that they don't think that it's a bad idea to be under the fake sun over one building, but the demon possessed don't have any other way to engage in their pattern of conduct. So that is them stuck in a cycle that they are not escaping as they watch their impending doom approach them with regard to a prosecution, being committed, being convicted, and being identified as the demon possessed, the Nephilim that did not want to be exposed, but they are. It is Fontana Lewis Library, where the fake sun is present in images that you'll see at 2:12 p.m. And Brink Security is engaged in federal stalking. A large African-American male with an extraordinary amount of facial hair is bearing weapons, gang stalking with San Bernardino County, Fontana Lewis Library, and is threatening me in doing so. Understand that this is a threat that the entity intentionally poses. This is gang stalking, not the focus of retrieving money from the Fontana Lewis Library. This is an entity that's engaging when it's communicating a threat with knowledge of documentation, and Brink Security is engaged in that pattern of conduct with the intent to obstruct justice, harass, and terrorize. And by the way, I want to be clear, when you are stalking with the state in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, doing so through the malicious guys like Brink Security is, through any security guard, through gang stalking police, you're bearing weapons, you're engaging in that P.O.C, that is relevant for federal prison. Okay, you're going just like you would document any stalker. This stalker is pursuing me and he's chasing me down, following me around with a large butcher knife. This stalker is following me around and he's bearing guns and he's engaging what is making threats. He's engaged in following me around everywhere. And now the more that I document, the more that this stalker is engaged in following me around. And now he's engaged in throwing water on me everywhere that I'm going, as opposed to, I'm just making sense, like the entity that's throwing light around, stalking with light. But again, stalking with light has a purpose, whereas stalking with water, there may be a purpose. Maybe the stalker wants to wet you so that they can see through your clothing. A sex offender, somebody that wants to harass you, that is a battery. It's a harmful touching also. But this is an entity. My point is that you are analyzing the stalker and all the ways in which they are threatening you while they are stalking you, keeping you under surveillance with regard to the ultimate objective. Why in the first place? Why is Aquanetta Warren engaging in surveillance in the city of Fontana? It's for murder, as committed as an entity. And you're not going to forget that. So this is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is what Brink Security is posing, and this is what the entity is engaging in together while obsessively stalking. I mean, with noise, with presence. No matter what corner I go sit in the library, a demon will go and engage in sitting right next to me, sitting right in front of me. Nobody else is sitting there. And again, as this is with regard to presence in the path as I use my communication device, and it is that specific to me. Outside of the window of the Fontana Lewis Library is the fake sun. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in surveillance of myself. All right, it is pathetic, but you are analyzing that pathetic behavior of a population which is exceedingly threatening and sexually violent, absurdly demented. It's 4:53 p.m. This is the entity engaged in what is obstruction of justice monitoring on the video of the internet. Bunch of psychopaths sitting around watching me document them and upload the evidence and engaging in what is an ongoing campaign of trying to stop it. They're never stopping it. They're accumulating more evidence and charges and also informing federal legislation while they do so, however, and it's relevant to those who are going to federal prison like Jason Isaac Fields, because I never should have been sleeping outside and he's going to be sleeping in a cell, a federal one. This is P.O.C. All right, it's currently 1:44 p.m. and this is documentation regarding Miss Aquanetta, who's taking very personally, so personally, that the demons are engaged in what is slowing down the internet inside of the library. Hi, I have a question. Is something going on with the internet today?
Yes, we are having issues with our internet.
Did you guys make an announcement? Did you make an announcement?
We didn't. We were trying to fix it before anything happened to the public. But our internet is running a little slow.
It's running really slow. Yeah. You guys are like the technology branch, you know, so that's... Sorry, I can't hear you over her.
We already talked to our IT department.
Uh-huh.
They have been working on it. It has gotten a little bit better, but it hasn't been up to full speed. We don't know when that's going to happen today.
Oh, okay. So you don't know when that's going to happen today. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to find out because I did notice that it's really slow. Yeah, it's not even pulling up images on the websites that I'm on. Okay. I just wanted to know if it was just the computer I was on, if it was it shows all of them. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, these are demons surrounding at this desk as I ask a question. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. You don't have to pick it up. Thank you. I got it. Sorry about that. Surrounding as I'm at the circulation desk, monitoring with the Fontana Lewis Library. Am I in your way?
Well, where you have to turn these things in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Oops. What is going on with this? Oh, it's fine.
I'm just returning this. Oh, and this.
Okay, that is P.O.C. by the way. You have a group of demons that are behind stalking in the path. This is obsessive stalking. It's an iteration of following like a pop star around groupies, except these are demons and they're conspiring murder and they're engaged in what is monitoring for a nefarious purpose. But that is what is actually going on as I go to the circulation desk and ask a question regarding what is federal stalking. There's no technological failure in the specific environment. The entity is including what is Aquanetta, who knows very well about every syllable I uttered about her. The city of Fontana is monitoring with the city of Ontario, the state of California. That's why the departure from what science would clearly recognize as being in favor of what my documentation shows, that the sun is remaining over me when it's supposed to be over the Ontario Police Department. If you just base the evidence on what was captured yesterday, and in a natural environment, the sun is a consistent object that's not engaged in what is behavior specific to one person in that environment. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and this is relevant to federal stalking. The reason why I'm referring to Aquanetta is because Aquanetta Warren is the demon that is calling herself, referring to herself as a mayor, and she is no such thing. And the demon is very much fearful and also hostile, while I am in the city of Fontana and the Nephilim is being exposed. And so at the Fontana Lewis Library, which prides itself, all right, even refers to itself as being at the forefront of this is the technology center. And then you have what is a failure of technology. And even beyond that, there is no legitimate malfunction in the specific environment. It is the pattern of conduct. And it's because I'm publishing evidence to remove Aquanetta from the position that demon is squatting in. Okay, while she's monitoring my vagina, there is no malfunction of the ability to keep me under surveillance on the internet via my communication devices. It's only a failure with regard to my access to sufficient internet, where these demons are pacing around inside of the Fontana Lewis Library. An engineer light is flying about the desk that I'm sitting at, station number 1, which is what I captured on video when I was here in September of 2025. And the entity keeping the fake sun over the entrance where it is present at 10 o'clock in the morning. And yet when I am coming in September 2025, I am still en route to this venue, and it arrives with me again during the 11 a.m. hour as I go to the back, show you the Spring Street, and then I go back to the entrance, and I do that back and forth, showing you the entity that is stalking me with the fake sun where there is no malfunction. And those were, again, demon-possessed groupies, if you will, stalking obsessively to maintain activity, following me around inside of the library as I go to the entrance and ask this demon a question that is already answered regarding the pattern of conduct. Okay, this is documentation of obstruction of justice by the city of Fontana. This is an entity that is blocking the access to the updated podcast for September 30th, 2025 is what I'm currently I was currently loading, and the entities, you'll see the repeated failure over and over and over again. That is, the internet is so slow, it's not uploading, so it stays at 0%. And then after it attempts so many times, it just gives a red line. It says failure. That's because the internet has been slowed down substantially, and that's an intentional, deliberate act. It's not a failure. The entity is maintaining control of the internet. That's what monitoring is, by the way. That's what surveillance is, maintaining control and real-time knowledge of everything that I also publish. The entity is the entity is engaged in what is specifically focusing on the podcast, as the videos and the access to the YouTube channel. I will state that. My YouTube channel, which is, again, this is evidence, and this is a federal case, while the entity interferes with internet access, which is proven to be a deliberate act in the specific environment. So it's not it's not going to be prosecuted as, oh, well, you just can't control that. That is the illusion where the fake sun is over the venue. It is criminal conduct, and it is proven by the specific environment that is at the Fontana Lewis Library, and it goes directly toward what is the imp that is sitting in a position that she is mentally unfit to hold, and that is a gang stalking mayor to be removed from office and welcome me in the city of Fontana with knowledge of my documenting her by condition and name. The Nephilim, going by the name of Aquanetta Warren, who's engaged in gang stalking as a corrupt official, monitoring with the demons that fill the city of Fontana, driving around in municipality vehicles, stalking at state facilitating venues like the Fontana Lewis Library, which is nothing other than a gang stalking venue. A bunch of demons fill this venue, engineer light demonic environment where they would represent and create the illusion online as to be some sort of elite and classy, revolutionary, state-of-the-art establishment, and it is demonic through and through. It is creepy with regard to the demonic behavior. I've shown you the environment. The entity has the fake sun over me at 10 o'clock at the entrance, and I'm showing you at 6 p.m., 6:45 p.m. through the windows of this same library facing Spring Street. The fake sun is in perfect alignment with me inside of this same Fontana Lewis Library, and that is no malfunction regarding the internet. It is criminal obstruction, and the entity that is engaged in federal group stalking monitoring is engaged in what is threatening in concert with demons like Jason Fields, who are not being protected, while the podcast is not capable of being uploaded on the internet that is maintained with regard to surveilling it and obstructing the ability to upload. The entity is very much interested in blocking updated evidence regarding the city of Ontario because it is one entity. The city of Fontana and the city of Ontario is the same exact entity. It is the state of California. And the entity that is the state of California that is targeting is doing so in concert and on behalf of the demon that is relying on gang stalking me through this entity, which is Jason Fields, who was specifically named, interested in gang stalking me through the city of Fontana, through the city of Ontario, in order to falsely depict my character and fail with regard to stating that I'm mentally ill because the entity is gang stalking me. And that is, again, the failed argument regarding any American citizen being targeted in the way in which I've shown the pattern of conduct is underway. It will actually be the commitment and the conviction of the demons that are gang stalking, and that includes Jason Isaac Fields, who was engaged in targeting and acting with the intent to obstruct justice, including while the city of Fontana is blocking sufficient internet access because these demons are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct. It's an admission to guilt. It's speaking to knowledge of guilt. It's speaking to consciousness of guilt is the phrase. And it's speaking to what is surveillance. Okay? You don't have a malfunction under the fake sun. When you're engaged in monitoring me, you're not engaged in a failure of access to the internet and the inability to access. That directly rebuts that. It's speaking to malice. Okay, and as I'm speaking to the threat, like I spoke to earlier in my discussion, this is why Fields is going to federal prison. And this is relevant to what is real time just sitting on property that belongs to me. And there never was an investigation of me. I'm exposing how the government has been targeting me, and the government's been targeting with regard to an agenda to try to falsely depict my character, and then failing in that miserably because the entity did not count on me documenting and prosecuting it. So now you're looking at what is an ongoing failed competition, because there is no competition amongst the demons. They are inferior, and that's why I've prosecuted them single-handedly. And that includes Jason Isaac Fields, who's going to federal prison. He's going to federal prison for the ongoing unlawful threat that Aquanetta Warren poses to my life, while she is, through the entity that is gang stalking and seeking to obstruct access to the internet, which is directly relevant to exposing a government that's threatening your life and safety. You put it on the internet in real time. The entity is engaging in this, and this is putting Fields in federal prison and everyone else, but understand he is at the top of the list. Okay, this is P.O.C, and under that are the kidnappers of the Ontario Police Department and Tracy Banks, and those defaming my character, those engaging in criminal summoning with the gang members of the Ontario Police Department, those acting with the impunity that LAPD and the Fontana Police Department have exhibited. Okay, and the list is on and on. This is P.O.C. It's currently 1:55 p.m. That is the Nephilim that are engaged in stalking and at the same time claiming that the internet that they are engaging in surveillance on and via is inaccessible due to some malfunction that the demons calling themselves IT are currently working on. That's P.O.C. All right, it is currently 1:55 p.m. That's audible activity under the fake sun at 2 p.m. That's over the same location it was at 10 o'clock, 9:59 to be exact. And that is what you're juxtaposing with the gang stalking conduct that is underway, proven by the Fontana Police Department, Aquanetta Warren, the city of Fontana, Fontana Lewis Library, the Nephilim. All of those labels apply, but with regard to what the entity is doing in Ontario, California, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and where the entity is keeping the fake sun over the same Fontana Lewis Library from 10 to 2 p.m. License 8X36420 is engaging in surveillance and monitoring with the city of Fontana that maintains the sound of the 2:01 p.m. The sound of the clock is audible noise under the fake sun. 8ABH 880, 8ZWG 750, a demon stalking in the path and doing so while engineer light is on the sidewalk. Which is the pattern of conduct. And not only is it supernatural, it is proof to you that these are demons, and that is relevant to the ongoing stalking by demons who are engaging in that pattern of conduct, including while I'm going and juxtaposing the city of Fontana with the city of Ontario. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, license 9NWA 732, 819JPR, that's Oregon, 9LET 012, 9PZZ185, 9TNE 697, 9SPH 804, and there is no malfunction of the internet where the entity is still engaging in the pattern of conduct proven through the fake sun that's sitting over the same location over the roof of the Fontana Lewis Library at 8437 Sierra Avenue, where it was as I arrived and captured on video at 9:59 a.m., which I reminded you at that time 24 hours earlier. I'm at the Walgreens at the intersection of Riverside Drive and Archibald Avenue. This is where license 9TNE 697 is a demon, okay, and is engaged in gang stalking with the government in furtherance of murder, and that is putting Fields in federal prison. That's need to understand how all these facts work. 7JGG 982, 9KOZ 493, 5WSG 840, 5RJX 134. The San Bernardino County Fire, a demon stalking with impossible light. The perpetual sex offense, a sexual assault and battery, 1260046, as that demon is operating a government vehicle and touching me with impossible light under a fake sun, and then driving into a fire department. 9NFT 182, 5RGX 134, and everybody else here is gang stalking as well. And the liar, that is a demon inside of the Fontana Lewis Library, is speaking to what is audible activity and engineer light monitoring, and obstruction of justice is what is underway by the city of Fontana, who are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct. All right, this is the license 5DBZ021, 7MPM 589, 8HXH009, 8ZIN180, 6AKK553, 8RQV373. And in the same way that San Bernardino County Fire are aware of who I am, this is why they're targeting with impossible light, they're monitoring my vagina, okay? San Bernardino County Fire Department is engaged in the P.O.C, and they are engaged in a sex offense. They're engaged in criminal surveillance. They're not engaged in firefighting. When those demons sound their sirens and you see the fake sun over me, that's what you understand the Ontario Fire Department is engaging in: criminal surveillance, demons that are engaging in light activity, audible activity, and relevant positioning. And they're doing so, as I underscore that, as I am in the city of Fontana, and there's a grand departure from the sun being anywhere remotely close to or nearby or sharing the same sky space of the Ovid Family Community Library, the Ontario Town Square, where 9KFN131, this is the hefty African-American male stalking this morning under the 9:59 a.m. fake sun, and it is still present over the same library at 2 p.m. as I step out, and that clock is audible noise. It's facilitation pursuant to criminal surveillance. And the Fontana Police Department, where I'm capturing that fake sun before 10 o'clock this morning, remains on the opposite side of the same parking lot where the entity is engaged in gang stalking. Of the Fontana Police Department are indeed the Nephilim. They're demons engaging in surveillance and keeping my vagina under surveillance, and they're doing so pursuant to knowledge that I'm in Fontana, the so-called state-of-the-art technology center, having what is a technological failure based on what is evidence that it wants to avoid being uploaded. And that is a criminal act of obstruction of justice. It's relevant to Aquanetta Warren's removal from office. It's relevant to the criminal acts of obstruction of justice that the Fontana Lewis Library are on the record having committed, for which there is no statute of limitations. It's relevant for the ongoing threat to my life, my safety, my well-being, the economic harms that I've suffered, also due to thieves like Jason Isaac Fields, who is the federal government engaging in what is an undue delay, providing discretion in any way to this entity to turn over that which was stolen, and it was stolen based upon the conspiracy to commit murder, and then you're going to give discretion for that same entity to return property that it never had any lawful basis to have control of in the first place. This is the entity that's going to federal prison, and it includes Jason Isaac Fields, okay? It is currently 2:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is speaking to, again, the direct lies that demons will state in your face without flinching. And those are indeed demons that were surrounding me at that desk. Oh, we're here to return this. Those are, again, demon-possessed fans, okay? But they're the worst type of fans. They're the fans that are obsessed with you, obsessed with your genitalia, obsessively stalk you, and want to do away with you. That's how obsessed they are with you. They actually, at the same time, hate you because they're not you. And this is the entity that's engaged in this pattern of conduct and doing so because of the federal government, doing so because of Jason Isaac Fields, doing so because of Tracy Banks, the entity that is still targeting in furtherance of that ongoing criminal conspiracy. It is not resolved, and there is no ceasing of that ongoing unlawful threat while the entity is monitoring me and interfering with internet access. That's relevant to a threat as well. That's relevant to unlawful obstruction tactics, and it's also relevant to what is the threat that the entity that engaged in targeting and stealing from me in the first place is posing, and you're going to prison for that. Okay, it is that which cannot be quantified, the harms caused by the federal government, caused by Jason Isaac Fields, a corrupt official who was never conducting any lawful investigation and is engaged in what is having unclean hands at the outset and remains engaged in criminal activity, which you are not going to unilaterally sanitize and make yourself legitimate, nor will you ever be in my presence. The government should have already given me my property. The government is the one that is having that obligation to protect against the entity that would terrorize and target you and murder you if they can get away with it. And then you're engaging in what is maintaining a level of control regarding that which does not belong to the government in the first place, while I remain subject simultaneously to this pattern of conduct. Okay, that's the entity that is, again, going to be prosecuted, and it's also going to be that which is establishing precedent regarding any American citizen that is not going to be subject to that which I'm exposing and that which I remain subject to. Okay, Aquanetta Warren is a homosexual. She's a demon. She's a Nephilim. She's keeping my vagina under surveillance, and then she wants to block access to the internet. And I'm speaking to her specifically. She doesn't work for IT. She probably can't even spell or break down what the acronym IT is. However, she represents the entity, and the city of Fontana is engaged in the pattern of conduct under her corrupt leadership, and she is directly engaged in that surveillance and interested in maintaining that surveillance, and is also a hostile demon like every other demon that I'm documenting. Okay, this is relevant to gang stalking mayors who are responsible and accountable and are engaged in. They're the part of the same demon-possessed community. Okay, and Aquanetta Warren being at the Fontana Lewis Library, do you know where the fake sun would be? Do you think that the pattern of conduct ceases? Do you think that everyone's going to start abiding by the law and cease engaging in the state terrorism? Because it will not. You will see the demon that she is. Well, were she at the Fontana Lewis Library right now, which she doesn't have to be. She's a part of the entity, and she's being documented as a corrupt official while the city of Fontana is engaging in that pattern of conduct. But I just want to be clear, under the fake sun, it will shine in its brilliance over me, showing you that she is indeed a demon like every other creature that I'm documenting. okay, including Amazon, who's gang stalking at Fontana Lewis Library, doing so under the fake sun, delivering a package with San Bernardino County Fire, demons pacing back and forth. This is what they do pertaining to my vagina as well. Okay, guard services engaged in the pattern of conduct, again, license 9KFN131. Brink Security license plate 9NYN666 is the third party. Brink Security is always Indiana 2961881 P.O.C. All right, it is currently 2:11 p.m. You'll see the images of the fake sun where all of the entity is engaged in that P.O.C., engaging what is activity creation, light activity creation, and doing so as the Nephilim under a fake sun. The Nephilim are posing a threat to the safety of American citizens while they're engaged in bearing weapons like the demons that operate Brink's vehicles, like the demons that work for the Fontana Police Department, like the demons that are engaging in what is public corruption, calling themselves American Guard Services. They're engaged in un-American conduct. This is P.O.C. It is currently 2:12 p.m. at 8437 Sierra Avenue. License 8XFG744. License 5PTF180. These are the demons of the city of Fontana, stalking with the entity that's maintaining planes 5GPG203. 8R70123. The entity is hovering, flying in the direction west. In alignment, you'll see the fake moon in my images. The fake moon is over me at the Fontana Chamber of Commerce. And as I continue walking on Sierra Avenue, the fake moon is remaining over me, just like the fake sun during the day. And the entity is hovering by flying in the direction west, patrolling plane after plane after plane. And this is hovering. And remember, the entity is doing so. This is the city of Fontana that's engaged in the pattern of conduct. What the city of Ontario is doing with commercial planes and smaller planes has nothing to do with the business of an airport. The entity is stalking by planes, and there happens to be an airport whereby domestic terrorism is underway in the city of Ontario. The city of Fontana is engaging in the exact same pattern of conduct. The city of Los Angeles is engaged in the same exact pattern of conduct. The city of Costa Mesa is engaged in the same exact pattern of conduct. There is the John Wayne and the LAX airports. The entity is engaged in what is maintaining a fake sun over me, where you are identifying the entity that is stalking me by planes and helicopters in those cities, in that specific environment. And the entity is engaged in what is stalking in the path, gang stalking, demons that are maintaining presence around you like sharks, circling, pacing all around, while the demons on the ground are stalking with methods of light. Under the fake sun, they're all doing that. Under the fake sun that remains over me, they're all stalking with light in the path. The entity is doing this through aerial surveillance by patrolling, flying around by helicopter, monitoring me, stalking me specifically, individually, and also by commercial planes, while they are maintaining presence all around as that fake sun shows who is the target individual. And with regard to prosecuting the Nephilim is going to be the target in federal court. Okay, it's showing that the entity is indeed targeting a specific person in furtherance of murdering that person, and that's what the city of Fontana is engaged in. It is currently 8:59 p.m. There are no landings from the city of Fontana. Okay, so this is the entity that's again engaging in conduct. Southwest Airlines is landing from Sierra Avenue, where they're hovering perpetually throughout, now not just throughout the city of Ontario, but you're going through various cities, hovering, and then also engaging in that conduct while you're taking off perpetually through the city of Ontario when they're supposedly taking off. This is the entity that is stalking with commercial planes, stalking, maintaining plane activity. This is relevant to terrorism. The entity that's stalking by planes is engaged in domestic terrorism. The entity that's stalking by helicopter is engaged in domestic terrorism. And the evidence has already proven that the entity is specifically stalking me using such psychopathic and maniacal and terrifying means of targeting someone. And that's also relevant to psychologically torturing them. It is currently 9 p.m. I'm at the Fontana Metrolink train station. And the entity is engaged in what is monitoring that evidence. And this is, again, under what is Aquanetta Warren's watch. She's not remaining as a mayor. Terrorism is underway. She is a terrorist. She's not a mayor. And you are going to be removed from office, whether you want to admit to being a demon, whether you want to admit to knowledge of terrorism underway in the city where you are a position of leadership. You're being removed from office. It's 9:01 p.m. and this is P.O.C. All right, again, 9:01 p.m., criminal summoning by San Bernardino County Fire at the village at Sierra. The gang stalking apartment complex. In relevant position to me, of course, that's where the fire truck is arriving, creating light activity. These are demons that want to get as close to me as they can. That's what they're doing in the bathroom on behalf of the San Bernardino County Fire Department. That's keeping my vagina under surveillance. And going to this Village at Sierra apartment complex. This is audible noise. And I took a picture of what is light activity by the demons of San Bernardino County Fire, who are engaged in surveillance, and this is demonic activity, actually. These are mentally ill psychopaths. They're monitoring, though. This is the Fontana Metrolink train station that is monitoring and doing so through the state actors OMNITRANS. These are demons that engage in this pattern while they're hostile about what they're witnessing being published online. These psychopaths are going to be committed. They're going to be prosecuted. This is the P.O.C. This is what the demon possessed do over and over again. The entity is engaged in flying over me repeatedly by helicopter as well. This is all published on the internet. The city of Fontana is going to be prosecuted, not different from the city of Ontario, the state of California. This is P.O.C. Light activity by OMNITRANS surrounding with what is light activity by the San Bernardino County Fire. This is what the entity is doing this morning between Chevron and ARCO, where the entity has the fake sun off of E Street in Euclid. This is activity creation. This is the entity maintaining light activity on both sides of the street, surrounding, if you will, while they are engaged in hardcore monitoring. Demons that are very much hostile as well, and it's a threat while they engage in their psychopathic pattern of conduct. This is what the entity is doing with regard to maintaining light activity while I'm at the Fontana Metrolink train station. This is P.O.C. Okay, it is 9:03 p.m. Third-party group stalker Allied Universal is gang stalking in the path with light activity, sharing in the pattern of conduct, and the fake moon is over the Fontana Metrolink train station, following from the Fontana Chamber of Commerce, the Fontana Lewis Library. License 1656575, bus 1221, OMNITRANS stalking in the path with light activity, engaging in the pattern of conduct, gang stalking as a corrupt public transportation provider. The Fontana Metrolink train station is engaged in the P.O.C., not the legitimate provision of public transportation services. They're engaged in monitoring right now, and these are demons that are operating these vehicles, and this is the business, this is the government. OMNITRANS is a state actor, okay, that's engaged in that P.O.C., and it's currently 9:06 p.m. Allied Universal is sharing in the criminal pattern of conduct. They're just stalking in the path with more light activity. They just lined up, creating light activity, and the San Bernardino County Fire is at Village at Sierra, stalking with light activity. License 16362E4 is Allied Universal. Allied Universal is a third party. This is P.O.C., and the entity has right over the top of my head. I'll take a picture of that right now. It doesn't get any clearer than that with regard to targeting. The Ontario International Airport is a gang stalker as well, going to be removed, engaged in the same pattern of conduct that the city of Fontana is. Targeting by flying over the top of my head, which is a terrorizing act that the entity is frequently practicing, as I am documenting it as well, but also in the specific environment where I have multiple shadows. Here's a picture of 1, here's a picture of 2, here is a picture of 3, where a demon is using an aircraft and is targeting me, stalking me by flying over the top of my head. This is P.O.C. As I'm documenting, the demon-possessed engaged in what is stalking, monitoring as a public transportation line for the Fontana Metrolink train station, which is a facilitating venue. It's 9:07 p.m. P.O.C. That's Metrolink, that's gang stalking. On the railroads, on the train tracks, that's relevant to interstate commerce. It's under the fake moon, it's in engineered light, it's with the entity that's flying over the top of my head by planes. And that's what Metrolink was doing under the fake sun over me in Fontana, California, today. Alrighty, I'm taking pictures of the entity that's stalking by plane, flies over my head and it's making a U-turn, and the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is, again, Fontana Police Department, where you are looking at the fake sun over that state facilitating venue, not a police department. Okay, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with the Fontana Fire, San Bernardino County Fire at Village at Sierra, that is on my right side, and the light activity and audible activity by METROLINK on my left side, the same side of the street that I'm on, and OMNITRANS is engaging in what is light activity. This is monitoring by the entity this is mental illness, okay? If mental illness had a picture, the Fontana Police Department would be within the frame of that portrait, okay? This is mental illness. These are the Nephilim, and this is not only gang stalking, monitoring by demons, but this is an act of aggression and hostility based on what I published on the internet, which is prosecuting the entire state of California, including the city of Fontana. And Aquanetta Warren is threatening me while I document her by name. She's not remaining in office, okay? She's a 69-some-year-old homosexual sex offender, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom of the Fontana Lewis Library, and then the Fontana Police Department are engaging in what is ongoing retaliatory criminal acts of terrorism on her behalf while I document that gang stalking mayor by name. It is currently 9:08 p.m. METROLINK is engaging in the elements of monitoring. METROLINK is monitoring right now. This is federal stalking. This is the fake moon. That's P.O.C. This is P.O.C. Everybody on that train is engaged in federal stalking as well. That's the pattern of conduct with the Fontana Police Department. The Nephilim that have a fake sun over that police department. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, doing so as an entity. This is the entity, I want to be clear, that committed kidnapping. With the Ontario Police, as you see, it's a very superficial veneer regarding the separation between cities. They are one single entity committing kidnapping together. Engaging what is assault with a deadly weapon together. They're stalking me by planes in the same manner in the city of Ontario. They're stalking me by helicopters in the same manner in the city of Ontario. They're doing so in the specific environment. And I've shown this pattern of conduct throughout every city and county. This is an entity that's going to be prosecuted for kidnapping, and it is done with the intent to obstruct justice. So is gang stalking following documentation published about the corrupt city of Fontana, and it is not being missed. It's going to be relevant and at the forefront of the prosecution of those that are going to be both mentally examined with regard to the demented mind state of the demons that are gang stalking. You are severely mentally disturbed, and that's going to be relevant at the forefront of the prosecution. And this is an entity that's also going to be civilly prosecuted with regard to the inherent incalculable harms that you cannot quantify with regard to being targeted by a government that uses millions of dollars, uses all of its planes and all of its fire department resources and all of its police department resources to keep little old me under surveillance, to try to suppress and oppress me, and all I'm going to do is make sure I break down the syllables in your name while I document you. Okay? And I'm documenting for a purpose. This isn't for funsies. You're going to be federally prosecuted. I hope everybody's paying attention. It is currently 9:11 p.m. This is the Fontana Metrolink train station. This is P.O.C. All right, the demon gang stalking with Fontana Police, bus number 1357, license 1653537, departing from the station where it was staying on the opposite side of the gate, like I captured on video and images, and doing so at 9:15 p.m. That is the license plate of the demon that is operating that bus right now, engaging what is monitoring together with San Bernardino County Fire and also with the Metrolink and with Fontana Police, who are stalking by helicopter. This is terrorism as I'm capturing it and I'm narrating it, and that particular license plate is engaged in that iteration of the P.O.C. The P.O.C. is ceaseless, okay? But I'm documenting who's there, who's doing what, when they're doing it, because this is the entity that's going to be prosecuted for it. It is currently 9:15 p.m. This is Fontana Metrolink train station, P.O.C.